There are certain things a man never expects to see. A good wife's betrayal is one of them. It started on a Thursday, a regular day, the kind that slides by without a second thought. I work a long shift, drove home the same way I always did, parked in the same spot in the driveway. The porch light flickered, something I kept meaning to fix but never did. Inside, the usual chaos. The kids were bickering over the TV remote. The smell of something cooking filled the house, and my wife, Emily, moved around the kitchen, humming softly. Nothing felt wrong. I dropped my keys on the counter and checked my phone. A few unread emails, some automated junk from the bank, and then one message from an unfamiliar number. Miss you already. Can't stop thinking about last night. I frowned. Wrong number, probably. I almost ignored it, but something about it made me pause. Curiosity, maybe, or instinct. I typed a quick reply. Who is this? The response came so fast, it was like they'd been waiting for me. Are you messing with me? You were just inside me last night. I stared at the screen, the words not quite registering at first. The house was still loud around me. The kids arguing, the sound of a spoon scraping against a pot, my wife's soft humming. But suddenly, none of it felt real. The world narrowed to those words on the screen. Inside me last night. I swallowed hard. My first thought, some kind of prank. Some scam. But there was something casual about the way it was written, something familiar. Like the person on the other end wasn't guessing, wasn't hoping, but knew exactly who they were talking to. And they thought they were talking to me. My pulse kicked up. I glanced toward the kitchen. Emily hadn't noticed me yet. She was focused on stirring something in a pot, hair pulled up in a messy bun, the same way she always wore it when she cooked. Normal. Everything looked normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. I typed again, slower this time. Who do you think you're talking to? The three little dots appeared instantly. Stop joking, baby. Don't make me say your name over text. Just delete these like you always do. Can't believe we almost got caught. A rush of cold ran through me. We always do. My grip on the phone tightened. The words almost got caught played on a loop in my head. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a scam. Someone out there thought they had just spent the night with me. Someone who was texting me in secret, assuming I would cover my tracks, assuming I had a reason to hide them. Someone who had done this before. My mouth felt dry. I looked at Emily again, really looked at her. The woman I trusted. The woman I built a life with. The woman I never, not once, had a reason to doubt. Until now, 1,000 thoughts crashed together at once. Couldn't be her. Couldn't be Emily. Maybe someone at work. Maybe some old friend playing a cruel joke. But I wasn't stupid. I knew. Somewhere deep in my gut, I knew. I scrolled back up to the number. It wasn't saved in my contacts, but that didn't mean anything. I copied it, pasted it into my dialer. No name, no identity, but I had a sinking feeling I wouldn't need to guess for long. Emily turned then, finally noticing me. She smiled. Smiled. Hey, babe, you okay? I stared at her. My wife. My beautiful, loyal, faithful wife. Loyal. Faithful. Right? I forced my face to stay neutral. Yeah, I muttered. Just tired. She nodded, turning back to the stove, unaware that in the span of a single text message, my world had shifted under my feet. Unaware that in the next few days, I was going to tear everything apart. I sat at the dinner table, chewing through a meal I couldn't taste. The kids were laughing about something, some joke from school, some nonsense about a video game. Emily sat across from me, smiling, playing the part of the perfect mother, the perfect wife. I kept my phone face down on my lap, my thumb hovering over the screen. My mind was racing, but I forced myself to keep my expression blank. Every time I looked at her, the words from that message flashed in my head. Miss you already. Can't stop thinking about last night. Are you messing with me? You were just inside me last night. Delete these like you always do. I gritted my teeth, my stomach twisting. Always. This wasn't a mistake. Someone was screwing my wife. And I had a strong feeling I was about to find out exactly who. I was careful. Didn't want her to see me checking my phone. Didn't want her to suspect anything. But as soon as dinner was done, as soon as I helped clear the plates and listened to Emily tell the kids to finish their homework, I slipped away. I needed space. I needed answers. The search begins. I sat in my truck, parked in my own damn driveway, trying to get my head straight. The air felt thick, heavy, like the calm before a storm. I pulled up the number from the text and copied it. Then I did what any man in my position would do. I ran a search. Nothing. No name, no business, no public records. Just a blank space where information should have been. Frustration burned through me. I thought about texting back, demanding a name, demanding the truth. But I already knew the truth, didn't I? The real question wasn't if she was cheating. It was who she was cheating with. My mind ran through the possibilities. It had to be someone I wouldn't suspect, someone who was close enough to us that she thought she could get away with it. A name popped into my head, and I almost laughed at how obvious it was. Mr. Carson, the damn teacher. He wasn't just some random teacher at the school. He was our kid's teacher, the one Emily always talked about, always had a reason text. Mr. Carson says Jake is struggling with math, or Mr. Carson suggested we try this reading program for Ava. The man she swore was just so wonderful with kids. I never liked him. He was too smooth, too friendly. And now all those little moments added up. The way Emily always found an excuse to go to the school, the way she'd dress a little nicer on parent-teacher conference nights. I should have seen it. I should have seen it. Testing a theory. I copied the number from the text message and started a new conversation. Hey, babe. Can't stop thinking about last night either. When can I see you again? If it was Carson, he'd answer. If it was someone else, I'd figure out soon enough. I barely had to wait. Tomorrow after school? Usual place. I let out a slow breath, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Usual place. Meaning this wasn't a one-time thing. Meaning it had been going on for a while. Meaning I'd been a goddamn fool. I wanted to punch something. Smash my phone. Drive over to that school and rip that bastard out of his classroom. But I had to be smart. I wasn't going to storm in blind, wasn't going to give them a chance to cover their tracks. No, I was going to watch. I was going to see it for myself. And then I was going to end it. Back to the house. By the time I stepped back inside, Emily was curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't sneaking off after school hours to get bent over by our kid's damn teacher. She looked up and smiled. Smiled. Hey, you okay? She asked, her voice soft, concerned. I nodded, forcing my lips into something that might have passed for a smile. Just tired, I said, the same words I'd used earlier. The same lie I'd told myself all these years. She patted the spot next to her. Come sit with me. I stared at her, at the woman I thought I knew. The woman I trusted with my home, my kids, my life. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake the truth out of her. I wanted to see the guilt in her eyes, to hear her beg, to watch her squirm. But no, that was too easy. Instead, I sat beside her, wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and kissed the top of her head like nothing had changed. She sighed, relaxing into me, and I smiled to myself, because she had no idea what was coming. I didn't sleep that night. Emily was curled up beside me, breathing steady, her body warm against mine. I lay there stiff as a corpse, staring at the ceiling, my mind running in circles. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that message again. Miss you already. Can't stop thinking about last night. Are you messing with me? You were just inside me last night. Delete these like you always do. Can't believe we almost got caught. I wanted to shake her awake, shove the phone in her face, and watch her try to lie her way out of it. But that wasn't enough. I needed proof. I needed to see it. At some point, I must have dozed off because I woke to the sound of my alarm. Emily was already up, moving around the bedroom, getting dressed. Morning, she said casually. I watched her pull on jeans and a sweater, her hair still damp from the shower. Normal. Everything about her looked normal. It made me sick. I forced myself to sit up. Got plans today? She glanced at me, smiling. Just running some errands, maybe grabbing lunch with Sarah. Sarah, the same friend she always used as an excuse. I wondered if Sarah even existed, or if she was just some name Emily threw out whenever she needed a cover story. I nodded, acting like I believed her, like I was just another clueless husband. She leaned down, kissed my cheek. Love you. I stared at her, at those soft lips, those bright eyes. The woman I'd shared a bed with for over a decade. Love you too, I lied, watching and waiting. I worked from home that day, or at least that's what Emily thought. I told her I had a big project and needed to be left alone. She kissed me goodbye and left like nothing was wrong. I waited exactly 5 minutes before grabbing my keys and heading out. I wasn't stupid. I knew where she was going. I parked 2 streets over from the school and waited. The school day had already started, so I didn't have to worry about parents dropping off kids. It was just me, sitting in my truck, gripping the steering wheel, waiting for something I already knew was coming. And then, right on time, I saw her car. Emily pulled into the lot, parked in a spot near the side entrance. The door opened, and there she was, my wife, my cheating wife, stepping out of the car, smoothing her sweater, looking around like she didn't want to be seen. She was careful. She always was. But not careful enough. Because I was watching. I expected her to walk through the front entrance like any normal parent dropping off forgotten homework or scheduling a meeting. But she didn't. She went around the side of the building, to a different door, one that wasn't meant for parents, one that led straight to the staff wing. I felt my pulse hammering in my skull. A minute passed, then 2. Then, he came out, Mr. Carson, tall, confident, dressed in that same button-up and slacks he always wore. He looked around, just like she had, making sure no one was watching. Then he motioned for her to come inside. And she did. I gripped the steering wheel so hard I thought it would snap in half. Not just a mistake. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at that door. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been an hour. Time blurred together in my rage. I should have stormed in. I should have kicked the door down, grabbed that smug son of a bitch by the collar, and smashed his face into his own desk. But I didn't, because something inside me wanted this to go further. I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to think they were getting away with it. I wanted to burn everything down when it would hurt the most. So I waited, and when she finally walked out, her sweater a little more wrinkled, her hair slightly out of place, I watched her get in her car and drive home like nothing had happened. I gave her a head start, then followed. By the time I pulled into the driveway, she was already inside, back in her comfortable little world, pretending she hadn't just been screwing another man in a school office. I stepped out of the truck, my hands shaking. Not from sadness, not from pain, from hatred. The excuse. When I walked inside, Emily was standing in the kitchen, pouring herself a cup of coffee. She turned, smiling. "You hungry?" she asked. I was thinking of making lunch. I stared at her. She looked so normal. It was almost impressive the way she could pretend, the way she could come home and make lunch like she wasn't a cheating whore. I leaned against the counter, folding my arms. "How was lunch with Sarah?" Her fingers froze around the coffee cup for just a second. Just a fraction of a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. Then she smiled again. "Oh, it was nice. Just caught up for a bit." I nodded, fighting the urge to smash that cup out her hands. "Yeah? Where'd you go?" She hesitated. That little cafe on 5th, she said quickly. "The one with the good pastries." Lie. I knew it was a lie. I'd been watching her, but I didn't call her out. Not yet. Instead, I let her talk. Let her dig the hole even deeper. She went on about how good the coffee was, how Sarah told her some funny story, how she was thinking of stopping by the store later. She didn't know I'd watched her walk into his office. She didn't know I'd seen everything. And she sure as hell didn't know what was coming next. So I smiled. Let her think she was winning. Let her think she was safe. Because soon, very, very soon, her world was going to shatter. I played along for the rest of the day, nodding at all the right moments, pretending I gave a damn about whatever nonsense she was saying. Emily was relaxed, comfortable. She had no idea that her perfect little secret was already unraveling. But I wasn't going to expose her just yet. I wanted more. I wanted to know everything. How long it had been going on, how many times how she justified it in her head. Because cheaters always had excuses. They always had some reason for why they betrayed the one person who trusted them the most. And I wasn't just going to hear her reason. I was going to make her say it. That night, after she went to bed, I sat in the living room, scrolling through my phone. The messages were still there, taunting me. Tomorrow after school? Usual place. I still hadn't responded. That meant Carson was waiting, probably checking his phone, wondering why his little side piece wasn't confirming their next meeting. So I gave him what he wanted. Yeah, can't wait. I didn't know what I was expecting, but it didn't take long before my phone buzzed again. "You sure everything's okay? You were acting weird yesterday." "Weird?" I smirked. Yeah, I bet I was acting real weird when I responded to his love note instead of my wife. but I needed him to stay comfortable. I needed both of them to think I was still in the dark. So I played the part. Just busy. But I've been thinking about you nonstop. The reply came instantly. MMM. I love when you say that. Tomorrow, after school, same time. I clenched my jaw so tight I thought my teeth might crack. Yeah, same time. And just like that, I had everything I needed. The next morning, Emily kissed me goodbye like she always did. Told me she was running errands. Told me she might meet up with Sarah again. Told me the same bullshit she'd been telling me for months. I told her to have fun. Then I followed her. She didn't even try to hide it. Same route, same school parking lot, same side entrance where parents weren't supposed to go. I parked down the street and waited. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then, right on time, Carson walked out. Looked around. Checked his phone. And there she was. Emily stepped out of the building and into his arms. Right there, in broad daylight. In the open. Like she wasn't even afraid of getting caught. Like she knew I would never suspect her. I watched her tilt her head up, smile at him. Let him brush a strand of hair from her face. I watched him lean in, whisper something in her ear, something that made her giggle like a damn teenager sneaking around after curfew. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to just confront them. I was going to destroy them. The first strike. I waited until she got home. Acted like everything was normal. Asked about her day. Listened to her lies. Let her dig herself deeper into the pit she didn't even know she was standing in. Then, after dinner, when the kids were settled, I sat down across from her at the table. And I dropped the first bomb. I got a weird message yesterday, I said casually. She looked up, chewing the last bite of her dinner. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. The screen was still lit, displaying his text. Tomorrow after school? Usual place. I watch her face closely. The way the color drained from her cheeks. The way her throat bobbed as she swallowed. The way her fingers tightened around her fork, like she was calculating her next move. I didn't say a word. I wanted her to speak first. I wanted to hear the lie. She swallowed again, forcing a confused frown onto her face. I don't know what this is, she said carefully. Did someone send this to you by mistake? Lie. A pathetic, desperate lie. I leaned back in my chair, folded my arms. Really? Because I thought it was interesting. I mean, they're expecting to meet someone after school. Sounds like a teacher, doesn't it? She blinked. I mean, yeah, I guess. But, funny thing, I interrupted, tilting my head. I happened to drive past the school today. Saw something interesting. Her breath hitched. Bingo. I leaned forward, resting my arms on the table. I saw you, Emily. My voice was eerily calm. Too calm. I saw you walk into that school. I saw you meet him outside. I saw you let him touch you. She froze. No more fake confusion. No more pretending. Now it was just panic. Babe, she started, voice shaky, eyes darting everywhere like she was looking for an escape. It's not what you think. Who is he? I demanded. She hesitated, just for a second. Then, it was a mistake, she blurted out. I was drunk. I don't even remember how it happened. It was one time, I swear. Drunk. I laughed. Loud, bitter, sharp. Drunk? In the middle of the damn school day. I scoffed, shaking my head. Try again. She bit her lip, her hands gripping the edge of the table, so tight her knuckles turned white. It wasn't like that, Shut up. I snapped, slamming my palm down on the table. She flinched. You think I'm an idiot? You think I didn't see you with him today? You weren't drunk, Emily. You were smiling. Tears welled in her eyes. I swear, I don't want to hear your excuses, I growled. I don't want to hear anything from you. She opened her mouth, probably to beg, but I was already standing, already walking away. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to ruin her. I left her sitting at the table, her face pale, her lips trembling, her mind scrambling for whatever excuse she thought would get her out of this. She didn't follow me. She knew better. I walked out onto the porch, gripping the railing so hard I felt the wood bite into my palms. The night air was cool, but it didn't do a damn thing to calm the fire burning in my chest. She thought she could lie her way out of this. Drunk? In the middle of the day? At a damn school? She really thought I was that stupid. The rage boiled over, fast and ugly, but I forced myself to take slow, even breaths. Not because I wanted to calm down. No, I wanted to feel this anger, wanted to let it fuel me, but because I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I wasn't just going to end this marriage. I was going to make her regret every second she spent with that bastard. The aftermath. I didn't go back inside for a while. I let her sit there, let her think about what was coming next. When I finally did step back in, she was still at the table, hunched over, gripping her head like she was trying to keep it from splitting open. She looked up at me, her eyes wide, red-rimmed. She started, but I cut her off with a glare. Pack a bag, I said flatly. Her breath hitched. What? I walked over to the counter, grabbed my keys, and didn't look at her as I repeated myself. Pack a bag. She scrambled to her feet. Wait, just wait a second. Let's talk about this, please. I turned on her so fast, she actually took a step back. Talk, I scoffed. You had plenty of time to talk, plenty of time to come clean. But instead, you came home, made dinner, and kissed me like nothing was wrong. Like you weren't out there screwing our kid's damn teacher. Her eyes welled up. Don't, I snapped. Do not stand there and cry like you're the victim in this. You did this. You. She shook her head, tears spilling over. I never meant for it to happen. Save it, I said coldly. I don't give a damn what you meant to do. You did it. Over and over again. You chose him. Now, you can live with the consequences. Her whole body trembled. I have nowhere to go, she whispered. Not my problem. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She knew I wasn't bluffing. She nodded, just once, then turned and walked upstairs. I listened to her pack, listened to the sound of drawers opening, the rustle of clothes being shoved into a suitcase. I should have felt something, but all I felt was satisfaction. She thought this was over. She thought the worst part was me kicking her out. She had no idea what was coming next. The first strike once she was gone, dragging her suitcase out to God knows where, I sat down at the kitchen table and pulled out my phone. It was time for Carson to feel this, too. I typed out a message. Hey, babe, change of plans. Meet me at your place instead. I waited. Sure enough, a minute later, my phone buzzed. You sure? Thought you liked our usual spot. My grip tightened. I just want somewhere private. No interruptions. God, I love when you're like this. You know where to find me. Can't wait. I grinned. Oh, I'd find him all right. And when I did, he'd wish he never met my wife. The house was silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence, the kind where the kids were asleep and everything felt warm and right. No, this was the heavy kind, the kind that settled in the bones, the kind that came after something broke when you were left standing in the ruins, wondering how the hell you never saw it coming. Emily was gone. I didn't know where, and I didn't care. She took her bag, her phone, and whatever dignity she had left and walked out the door. I didn't stop her. I didn't yell after her. She wasn't mine anymore. Hell, maybe she never was. But I wasn't done yet, because while she was probably crying in some cheap motel or begging one of her friends to let her crash, he was sitting somewhere, comfortable, probably thinking about the next time he'd see her. That wasn't going to happen. Not after tonight. I checked the time. 9:13 p.m. Not too late. Early enough that Carson wouldn't be asleep, but late enough that he'd be expecting one thing and getting another. I grabbed my truck keys, checked my phone again. God, I love when you're like this. You know where to find me. Can't wait. I smirked. I wonder if he'd still love it when he opened his door and saw me standing there instead of my wife. I pulled up his address. I didn't even have to search for it. I knew exactly where he lived. It was disgusting, really. This man, this piece of shit, had been in my home. He had smiled at me, shaken my hand at school events, handed me graded assignments for my own kids while screwing my wife behind my back. And all this time, he probably thought I was some idiot, some blind, naive husband who never saw the signs. I saw them now, and I was going to make sure he felt every damn one of them. I started the truck and pulled out of the driveway, my hands tied on the wheel. By the time I hit his street, I had one goal: to make him suffer. Carson lived in one of those cookie-cutter houses, the kind that all looked the same, with the same neat little lawns and the same boring driveways. I parked down the street, took a deep breath, and stepped out. Every step toward his door felt heavy, electric, like a live wire buzzing under my skin. I knocked, waited. It took a few seconds, but then footsteps. Then the door opened. And there he was. Mr. fucking Carson. The bastard had the nerve to smile. Like he was expecting something good. Like he was expecting her. His smile faltered when he saw me. His eyebrows pulled together, and for the first time, I saw it, the flicker of realization. The moment his brain caught up. He hesitated. Mr. Mitchell. I tilted my head, my lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. Not who you were hoping for. I asked, voice calm. Too calm. He took a step back. I think you have the wrong house. I let out a breath. No, I don't think I do. His Adam's apple bobbed. Is everything okay? Oh, this motherfucker. I took another step forward, forcing him back into his own damn house. Yeah, I said, still too calm. Everything's great. In fact, I just wanted to stop by and say thank you. His eyes darted toward the street. He was nervous. Good. For what? He asked. I let out a short laugh, stepping inside and shutting the door behind me. For giving me a reason to finally see my wife for what she really is. Silence. His face drained of color. Bullshit, he blurted. I don't. I held up my phone. His messages. Our conversation. The proof. I watched him deflate. Watched his whole world shift, just like mine had when I got that first text. And then, before he could say another damn word, I did what I came here to do. My fist met his jaw so hard, I felt the crack shoot up my arm. Carson stumbled back, gasping, clutching his face. I didn't stop. Didn't give him time to think, to react, to beg. I grabbed him by the collar, slammed him against the wall, so hard a picture frame crashed to the floor. You really thought you'd get away with it? I growled, my voice shaking. You really thought I'd never find out? He stammered, hands up in surrender, eyes wild with panic. I didn't mean. I hit him again. A punch straight to the gut this time, knocking the wind out of him. He doubled over, coughing, but I wasn't done. You screwed my wife, I snarled, shoving him back against the wall. In the same school where my kids go. Do you have any idea how sick that is? He gasped for breath. P, please. I grabbed him by the shirt and dragged him forward, shoving him toward the front door. You're done, I spat. You hear me? Done. If I so much as see you near my family again, I swear to God, Carson, I will make sure you regret every single choice you've made up until this moment. He nodded frantically, eyes pleading. Say it, I demanded. I'm done, he choked out. I swear. I stared him down for another long second. Let him feel it. Let him sit with the reality of the hell he'd walked into. Then I let go. He slumped against the wall, clutching his ribs, sucking in air. I turned, walked to the door, and pulled it open. Before stepping out, I glanced over my shoulder. By the way, I said, she's all yours now. Then I slammed the door behind me. I drove home, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. The rage hadn't faded. The hate hadn't disappeared. But there was satisfaction now. I didn't care where Emily was. I didn't care what she'd tell Carson after this. I had made my point. And this was just the beginning. Because I wasn't just going to move on. I wasn't just going to let her walk away clean. No, I was going to make sure she lost everything. I didn't go home right away. I parked a few blocks away, killed the engine, and just sat there. My knuckles throbbed from where I'd cracked them against Carson's face, but the pain barely registered. My heart was still hammering, my blood still boiling, my mind still running through everything that had happened. Every moment of deception, every second I'd been played for a fool. I thought hitting him would be enough. I thought watching him cower, watching him realize he'd messed with the wrong man would bring me peace. But I still wanted more. Emily might have thought she got off easy by packing her bags and walking away. She might have thought all she had to do was cry, throw out a few weak apologies, and disappear until I cooled down. She was wrong, because I wasn't just going to let her go. I was going to ruin her. I picked up my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found Sarah's number. Sarah, Emily's best friend, the one she always used as an excuse, the one she claimed to be having lunch with while she was off screwing Carson. I hit call. It rang 3 times before she picked up. Hey, oh my God, I was just about to. Emily cheated on me. Silence. A stunned pause. Then what? She was screwing our kid's teacher, I said flatly. For months. Lied to my face about it. And guess what? She told me she was having lunch with you the whole time. So, Tell me, Sarah, did you cover for her? Or was she lying to you too? A shaky breath on the other end. Oh my God, I had no idea. I let that sit for a moment. I wasn't done. She's gonna need a place to stay, I said, my voice icy. Maybe she already called you. Maybe she's already feeding you some sob story about how I'm a monster, how it was all a mistake. But now you know the truth. More silence. Then, she didn't call me. I smiled to myself. Good. That meant Emily was alone. I didn't give Sarah a chance to say anything else. I hung up and went back to my contacts. Next up, her parents. I wasn't the kind of guy to drag other people into my problems. But this wasn't just a problem. This was justice. Emily's parents had always liked me. They thought I was a good man, a good husband, a good father. And for years, I had been. They needed to know who their daughter really was. I dialed. Her mom answered. Hey, sweetheart, she chirped. How's my favorite son-in-law? I let that hang in the air for a second. Emily cheated on me. The smile in her voice vanished. What? She's been sleeping with another man for months. Lying to me. Lying to our kids. And I thought you should know because I don't want her walking into your house pretending to be some victim when she's the one who destroyed this family. A sharp inhale. Oh my God. I gave her a second to process. Then, where is she now? Don't know. Don't care, I said. But she'll come crawling to you eventually. Just remember, she did this to herself. Another heavy silence. Then, in a voice colder than I expected, she won't be welcome here. I nodded, satisfied. Good. And with that, I hung up. By the time I got home, my phone had started buzzing. Emily. I ignored the first call. And the second. Finally, I checked the text messages. Please pick up. I need to talk to you. I swear I never wanted to hurt you. I messed up, but please don't do this. Did you tell my parents? They just called me. They won't even let me come home. They said I disgust them. What did you say to them? Please answer me. I stared at the messages for a long time. Then I typed out one final response. You made your bed. Now lie in it. And then I blocked her number. That was it. No screaming matches. No drawn-out fights. No second chances. I erased her. I changed the locks. I took her name off the bank accounts. I made sure she had nothing left to come back to. She lost me. She lost her family. She lost everything. And the best part? She did it to herself. I wasn't sad. I wasn't heartbroken. I was free. And I'd be damned if I ever let someone like her break me again.